We're creating our very own demise. I just watched a video on AI creating a movie about itself in the future. So I thought I'd do this experiment and I thought to myself that if someone could come back from 2030 and tell us what we did wrong, what would they say to us? And here's what I think they would say. And I wrote it down, so I'm going to read it. I think they would say the hardest part wasn't the technology, it was realizing how much of yourselves that you gave away without noticing it. They would tell us that the small adaptations we made in 2024 and 2025, letting AI handle one more decision, accepting one more layer of surveillance for convenience, normalizing one more erosion of privacy, those accumulated into something that we didn't see coming. They say that we were so focused on staying relevant and on not being left behind that we forgot to ask whether the destination was somewhere that we actually wanted to go. I think they would warn us that the emotional vertigo we're feeling now, it doesn't go away. It just becomes background noise. And that we learn to function in a state of perpetual overwhelm. And we called that resilience. When really it was just exhaustion. They would tell us that sovereignty fragmentation created lonelier worlds than we'd ever imagined. That losing shared reality meant losing the ability to solve collective problems, and that we underestimated how much human connection depends on common ground. But I think they would also say something that we're not ready to hear, which is that some of us choose comfort over courage. That we had a window where we could have demanded something different, slower deployment, democratic input, ethical frameworks before innovation, and we didn't use it because resistance felt too hard and adaptation felt too easy. They tell us the grief we avoided feeling in 2024 is still waiting for us in 2030, except now it's compounded by regret. And maybe, if they were being really honest, they'd say, you knew deep down. You knew this wasn't the future that you wanted. You felt it in your chest, in that low grade anxiety, in that emotional vertigo, and you adapted it anyway. So, what I think that we need to develop is emotional sovereignty, the capacity to feel what we actually feel instead of what we're told we should feel about progress. Because right now we're so conditioned to frame every technological advancement is as inevitable or like positive that we've lost the ability to trust our own emotional signals. That anxiety in your chest, that vertigo, that grief, those aren't bugs in your system. Those are features. Those are your psyche telling you that something important is at stake here. The transformation that we need is learning to hold complexity without collapsing in blind optimism or paralyzing despair. We need to be able to say, this technology is remarkable and it terrifies me without rushing to resolve that tension. To say, I don't know if this is good for us, and actually sit in that uncertainty long enough to think it through instead of adapting reflexively. Intentional discernment. The ability to say, I'm going to take 6 months and decide if this is the life that I want. When everything around you is moving at a venture capitalist speed, it's important to protect spaces in your mind, in your life, that remain unoptimized, unmeasured, unpredictable. Not because they're more productive that way, but because that's where your humanity lies. That's where it lives. Because here's what I kept coming back to. And if we lose the ability to feel our own resistance, to honor our own grief, and to trust our own rage, if we adapt ourselves out of those inefficiencies or emotional responses, then we've already lost the thing worth protecting. And we'll have to optimize ourselves into something that can survive the convergence, yes, but we won't recognize ourselves anymore. The transformation that we need is remembering that being human means moving at human speed, feeling human feelings, and having the courage to say not yet, or even not ever. Something asks us to be less than whole. Don't be less than whole. Stay true to yourself.